You know what time it is. You know what time it is.
How firm thy friendship. Oh,
you know what time it is. Roll with them boys of the fall. You know what time it is. On the ground with a nose for the ball. You know what time it is. Blood, sweat, and them tears for this game. Leaving it all out on the field with no fear for you lames. Buckeyes by a billion. We in the building with over 100,000. We represent from the uttermost to the public housing. If we don't play, all wide receivers got your secondary shook, so they cook them like Bobby Flay. Hey, stay out of my way and trust me, cause I know it's a way. Somebody please give this brother an eye. Come on.
What up, Buckeye Nation? Welcome to the Buckeye Boys, where we talk about college football with real fans and the occasional sign-stealing investigation. I'm Devin. That's Mello. And we got somebody special with us tonight, somebody that has become very popular over the last couple of months and even previous to that, man, somebody that is following something dear to our hearts very closely. He's up there with the best in the business at covering the scum cheating scandal and just bringing things to the light. And if I'm being honest, dumbing it down for me so I can get on his Twitter and read it and understand it clearly. So Intrinsic, it's an honor to have you here on the show, man. How you doing?
I'm doing good. How you doing, Devin Mello?
We're good,
I'm
man.
good, man. Glad
chilling.
to be here. Glad to hear the new info you're going to drop. I'm ecstatic.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm
Yep.
glad that you're able to phrase it that way, because I try to make it as simple as possible so people can just kind of look, get an idea of what's going on, and know the story. So there's awareness on basically what went on here.
Yeah.
So
There are so many. The thing is there's so many aspects to this. And before I get going on that, I got to do this. Chat, appreciate you guys for showing up tonight, man. Get your popcorn ready, warm your seats up, whatever it is that you do, man. We're excited for this show tonight. You know what the topic is already. Hit that like button for us. Hit the subscribe button as well on both channels, The Scoop and The Buckeye Boys with a Z. If you could, please. Super chats are open. The chat is open. Get in there and chat it up with everybody in there. We're like a family around here. So, yeah, man, as I was saying before, dude, there is just so many aspects of this thing. There's so many like rabbit holes you could dive down along the way to the punishment. You know what I mean? With the Connor Stallions on the sideline and Matt Weiss doing this and a DWI here and Alex Ude over here, and then go back to the sign stealing thing and Santa Ono leaving for Florida, but doesn't get hired at Florida. And then all this information coming out on message boards from this person, that person, all over the place, man. It's a lot. And you seem to have organized this information and put it together pretty plainly for a lot of people to read. And I know that I'm a huge fan of your Twitter account and going on there and getting up to date. That's the first place I go. If I want to know if anything is new is going on, man, you got the Scoop message board and you got Intrinsic's Twitter page, man. So you're tearing it up. But one thing I wanted to dive into tonight is we feel this punishment could be more imminent than it has been in the past, right? We've always said timing is dicey, right? So we're getting to a point where I think it's fair to discuss when this decision is made, what happens? Are they going to put it out on Twitter? Are they going to send letters to people? What's this process look like? And how soon could we potentially see this, man? So I'm going to pull up something from your Twitter that I think will help us along the way here, but let us hear it, man.
yeah, so first off, these decisions when they're released, even if it wasn't this high profile of a case, it's all planned. There's a process. Everything that the NCAA and the Committees on Infraction does is according to their bylaws and their internal operating procedures. So in a case like this, they're going to follow that because they have to. So when you're looking at how this is going to unroll, which is where we're all at now, there's a process. And part of that process is giving the named individuals, which are like your Connor Stallions, your Jesse Minters, your Jim Harbaughs, and the institution itself, which is be the president in this case, since it's an institutional violation, they have to give them some type of notice, and that is the decision. So what I'm looking for, and so basically what they do is they give them that decision, and then they have a release thereafter. And generally, what that does is it kind of starts a shot clock, as I call it. And in most cases, you don't have issues with named individuals leaking things. So, so to my understanding, once they give the notice or the decision to these people, that is when we're going to see a whole bunch of noise and a whole bunch of chatter. Because as part of that, none of those people can leak what the decision is, or they'll face further sanctions. So it's almost impossible to keep a lid on it because a lot of these members aren't cooperating already, like Stallions, like Harbaugh. They're not cooperating and they're talking when they're not supposed to be. So I believe it's going to happen very fast when it unfolds. There'll be some chatter. I think they're going to give them like an hour notice, 2 hour notice at first, as opposed, I thought it might be like a day notice. Because in other cases, how it's worked is like on a Wednesday night or Wednesday afternoon, they'll give them the notice and then they'll tell them they're having a press conference next week. But I don't think they can do that in this case because as soon as they tell someone like Stallions, as I mentioned in my post, he's going to call up Isaiah Hole and tell him, hey, look at this is coming. So as of right now, that decision has not been released. So we know that. So we can almost all but guarantee that it's not going to be coming out tomorrow morning. If we go from there, I do believe this 1 to 3 weeks that we're in after this Big Ten media day is when the decision is going to drop. So we are like on decision watch at the moment. But but the thing that I'm keeping an eye on, and I'll be one of the first to do this, but a lot of people are looking for it, is when that decision goes down, their message boards are going to light up because the Chris Balasses, the anybody who wants to prove that they're an insider and worth something will mention it because they just want to feel self-important. So that's where we're at now, is waiting for those named individuals to get that notice that it's coming, and then they're going to hold a press conference. So I think it's going to unravel very quickly.
Yeah. My question, man, is let me get this removed and see what goes on here. Okay, cool. So my question is obviously when these are handed down, you just explained that pretty clearly. So they can't make any public statements, right? So who is the one that does that? Is the president of the school going to come out and make an announcement, or did you read into that as to how this gets announced?
I'm almost certain they're going to have a press conference for something this important. Sometimes they'll have like infractions, like they'll have an upload with their decision. They're going to do that at the same time, but I believe they're going to do it simultaneously with the release of the decision. So I'd expect there to be a press conference in which they go over what happened because this is a very high profile, serious case.
Yeah.
As everyone who's watching knows. So I imagine you have a press conference. And one of the things too, how silly would the NCAA look at this press conference if they went light on them? Because there's a lot of coaches paying attention right now to what's going on. So
Yeah. Yeah. No doubt about it, man. The interesting thing about it is when it says that it's a violation, right, to go public with any of this information. But what do we know about the team up north along this entire way, right? That they will
yeah.
leak things accordingly to give themselves better PR. So you almost wonder, man, right? If they see something kind of like that, I think it was the draft, the NOA draft or some draft. I forget what it was, man, that supposedly only part of it got leaked, and the part that got leaked was supposed to kind of shed light on it, make it look more positive. When in turn you dive into it, and it makes it look really, really bad. Kind of similar to Trevor trying to leak that he read the CMU NOA, and he tried to put that out there and make it look more positive and beneficial for them, when in fact, if you dig into the truth behind it, like you brought up so well on your Twitter page, that COI hearing, they lost that. And that evidence got implemented into it. So really, if you dive into that as well, it makes it look even worse for them. So you got to wonder.
Well, it's even worse than that. So yeah, right where we're at right now, if you're listening to this, it's like, okay, a lot of this stuff I know, whatever. How it gets released, I just want it to come out. I get it. What they're doing right now is they're trying to run in front of this story. So Trevor McHugh runs in front of the CMU story, claims he sees the NOA on Twitter. Basically, like, I seen it. Look at that. All of a sudden, Stallions is he's working for Central Michigan now. It's completely nothing to do with us, which obviously is an outrage. But he runs ahead of that and basically slam dunks that Stallions somehow Michigan's help, because Stallions was separate on the NOA for CMU, which doesn't make any sense because it still has nothing to do with Michigan's NOA and the fact that they didn't monitor him. But then you have the other one, which is this Dot Man guy. Yeah, so you pulled up. Yeah, so the one that you just pulled up on screen there, literally within he goes to his private message board and then says, "I have not seen the NOA." He literally says that. So why is he posting all this? And even funnier than that, the Detroit Free Press reaches out to Central Michigan for a comment, and then Central Michigan says, "We haven't even received the NOA." How weird is that? So he's slam dunking that he has the NOA, and this is all great for Michigan, and Central Michigan's like, we don't even have it. So I don't understand why their media needs to lie. Um, but I think if you just kind of follow what's going on here, is they're trying to get ahead of the punishment that's coming, and they're trying to plan how they're going to sell it to their fans, because this entire time they've said nothing's going to happen. I mean, these people said Sharon Moore wasn't going to even get suspended. You understand, if you're I almost feel bad for these people in a way, because they're looking up to their insiders to tell them, or just, this is credentialed media. So this isn't even like conspiracy board message boards, which it actually kind of is, but their people are literally telling them nothing's going to happen this whole time. And next thing you know, Moore has a suspension. And so I think they're figuring out they're being misled, and Michigan media is trying to sell it to them. So, but the next thing that I kind of want to get into is that I've been covering that amended NOA story and how important that material evidence that they lost was. Well, we got a leak from this guy Dotman, who's one of the senior people at their MGO blog. Anyways, Dotman came out and said the amended NOA had to do with Central Michigan. But he sold it as, oh, it's a small thing. It's just because Stallions was involved. And that would not be material evidence. Now, if they were colluding together, it would be. So that's something that we'll have to see if it pans out. Because if you follow the dashboard on CMU, that decision was hidden. It should have been released within a week after the NOA was sent out, and over a month has gone by, and then it finally comes up. So there's a bunch of weird stuff between CMU and Michigan that people are trying to figure out. And I don't think, as far as the sake of discussion, we're going to find out when the decision comes. But I would be surprised if there was collusion between Central Michigan and Michigan, as far as something that ended up being material evidence for the NOA, which strengthened this being a failure to monitor case. Which,
Yeah,
if you're just now hearing this, that's the hammer.
Yeah, that makes sense what you're saying. Like what they tried to, I guess it was Dot Man, right? What Dot Man was trying to say, and their media and their message board warriors, essentially trying to say, well, Connor's reasoning for being there wasn't to help
Mhm.
uh, the team up north, right? It was there to help CMU. And to me, it's pretty obvious, man, that these NCAA like bylaws and laws that they or rules that they have, they're some of them are pretty black and white. You know what I mean? That is, failure to monitor. A head coach is responsible, right, for his staff and what they do. So the fact that he was there, right, while being a staff member for Scum, that's the violation. At that
Yeah.
point in time, it's like he could have been there videotaping the game. It doesn't really matter, man. He was there, and that's the violation. But that's the pattern, man. That's the pattern. That's what they do. This isn't like some groundbreaking news. When they leaked that Big Ten letter, Mela, let me know if you remember this, dude, because when the guy said he read the Big Ten letter and Tony Petitti said what he said, that, hey, go light on them. And we all said, well, dude, that's standard practice, right? Every commissioner of SEC Big Ten. I said, don't be surprised if something else gets leaked here soon, right?
Yeah.
To make it look good for them.
Right.
So it's the same pattern over and over again. Try to say that you saw or you have some information that's going to bring this punishment in this whole scenario more of a positive PR presence, right? For their recruits, for whatever. Because listen, we're in the recruiting world pretty heavy. And it's not a secret that they are, that they were telling recruits that they don't expect vacated wins or any bowl bans. So, like, that's not a secret. We know that, man.
So you guys have been told that, because that's one
correct.
thing. Because that's one thing that frustrates me, is because I'm expecting a 2-year CFP ban. That's my prediction. That's not. But regardless, is if you are a coach, if they say this is so wrong, you did this right before the season. These players had no idea that, because we can all agree the players who weren't involved with this, it's not their fault. It's not their fault that this happened, but they need to have been told by their coach who's recruiting them that they can be facing a postseason ban. So if you do come here to play, just know these penalties can result in a postseason ban, right? So if Tyrone Moore has been telling them that nothing's going to happen, that is malpractice. And that should scream that any recruit who wants to go to Michigan, beware, they do not care about your future at all, if that's the case. Like,
And
that's
my thing
upsetting
with
to me.
this is, where are the agents? What are they doing? They're not advising their clients very well, right? I think a lot of these agents, what they're doing is they're pushing their kids to go to the highest bidder because they get a bigger percentage of that paycheck. So they're not, a lot of these agents don't have the best interest for that player at hand, because they're probably like, oh, he signs or he commits, I get a cut of that check, and then he could transfer somewhere else and I get another cut. So basically you're getting paid twice off of one deal.
Yeah, that's part of the dirty world, it seems like, of recruiting. I'm not a recruiting expert. I know you guys cover recruiting great, and you guys talk to recruits all the time. Uh, but yeah, unfortunately, some of these kids, it seems like they get preyed on.
Yep.
But
Yeah.
it's just, to me, I just don't know why you wouldn't tell them. Every single report, if you look around the COI, from any credentialed, like any reporter who has covered this, they've interviewed COI, like ex-COI chairs. It's in every media outlet. Even Dan Wetzel, Michigan homer himself, said they are facing a possible postseason ban, because that's the most important one. Not vacated games doesn't matter to these kids that are just now getting there.
Yeah.
But for them not to have been told, hey, if you come here, we don't, even if they say we don't expect it to happen, like maybe that's their view, they don't expect it to happen, but you still have to let them know that this is a risk that you're taking. And so that's something that, as this unfolds, if it goes down the way I expect it to go down, that it's a aggravated level 1 failure to monitor, it'll be a postseason ban. and I would expect a lot of kids to be upset and transfer at that point.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, I made a post earlier, and we talked to several recruits and stuff, and that if you were to think in your head, hey, I wonder if recruits are going to leave if they get hammered, the answer is the obvious answer. That's what they are thinking. To
Yep.
very few that we have spoken to, I mean, that's what it is, man. We got
Yep.
told that way back when. Like they're aware, right, of kind of what's going on, and you got to pick a side in this battle. You either think that this punishment is coming, or you don't. But what I want to do now, man, I want to take a bigger step back, because you ask
okay.
yourself, all right, when is this punishment gonna drop? The question everybody wants to know. And timing, as Nevada says, it's dicey, man. It's dicey. But here
Yeah.
recently, there's something going on, man. There's a shift that I think when I talk about it, you're gonna. I mean, we talked about a little bit backstage, but there's a shift going on. It's the moving of the goalpost that they do. They try to do a brilliant job at, but it's just absolutely ridiculous. It's the no, that was not Connor Stallions to yes, okay, it was Connor Stallions, but he was there to help CMU. It's that moving the goalpost. So we have went from no, it's nothing. There's going to be no punishment. Insiders were putting that stuff out in the beginning. Don't expect anything from this. People are exaggerating. And now we've seen a shift, man. We've seen people come out, and now they're talking about whether it's okay for Sharon Moore. Or are we going to accept the 2-game suspension for Sharon Moore? I don't think we should accept anything more than that. And yeah, we're probably going to get a fine, right? But you're starting to see some people switch a little bit, man. They're switching sides. They're kind of coming over and kind of seeing the writing on the wall, man. And these are the same people that, are used to back up that program to the fullest, put blinders over their eyes and act like they didn't hear or see anything, or act like they made something up that they saw or that they read, right? But now you're seeing it. I mean, I saw the Uncle T today. I'm going to pull that up. I'm going to let you get started on this. I want to pull up that conversation that Uncle T had today on his little
Yeah.
message board.
So while you're pulling up the Uncle T one, which is just ridiculous, when I say we, I have help. When I do these posts, there is a team of people who are helping me get this news out as fast as possible, and they just do it because it's almost like a crowdsourced movement against cheaters, essentially. But regardless, is you're starting to see stuff like, well, I guess Connor Stallions, he didn't cooperate as good as we thought. Really? Like, since when have you he lied, and you could see it in the Netflix special that he lied. um but now they're even turning on him like, dear Connor, I know you're able to see one. I'm begging you, you weird human being, please go pound sand and get away from my football program, thanks. And then Chris Bayless, oh, yeah, there you go, right there. Chris Bayless is like, yeah. It's like, oh, so now you guys are turning on Stallions. I thought he's your hero. So, anyways, you're starting to see them shift. Like, now we're gonna figure out, who are we gonna blame? Are we gonna blame Stallions? Are we gonna blame the NCAA? Are we gonna? They're gonna have to blame somebody, because they're gonna look really stupid on this. Um, but yeah, bring up. So Uncle T's story is completely insane. Him and Chris Blas have been in bed together from this ever since this thing started as a joke. So that's when all of a sudden Uncle T, this is going way back to the beginning of this. They've been accusing Ohio State of stealing practice footage. And now, so there are two main things that Uncle T is doing. This, I guess, is his new purpose in life now that he's been kicked out of the football program, or the booster program. His new thing is attacking whistleblowers and promising that the goods will come on Ryan Day's brother, which it's insane. It's yeah, it's
Bro.
flat out insane. So some of this I'm not gonna read because it's not child friendly. You can read it if you're looking at it, but essentially he's accusing Ryan Day have of have stolen practice footage and it's going to be released. He's saying the only reason this started is because of Alex Ude turned on them, not because of all the stuff they did, just because a guy who isn't even being charged with a crime because he's special needs or something. I don't know. He's not being charged with a crime, but somehow this guy needed to go to the NCAA and turn fake evidence on them. I don't even know what he's saying. Like, uh, but yeah, then he's talking about, oh, we're gonna fight him in court. The discovery is gonna be amazing, and this is all because Ohio State is soft, and they hired a PI firm to bring up this baloney. Like, who
Dude.
is this? Is Chris Balas is one of his sources for the story that he still has up today. He still has up today that Ryan Day's brother was allegedly hired to hack Michigan's practice footage. It is completely insane. It's reckless. I don't think Ryan Day is going to sue him, but I don't know. It's led to
This is
death
the thing.
threats. Yeah.
Chris Drew, and I watched it. Minister Sports, Chris Drew and Zach Smith made that whole thing up. I watched it live as it happened. They told everybody live as it happened that they made it up. Even as it got ran with by the Team Up North media, they came out and said, "This is not true. Are you idiots?" They just addressed it a couple of weeks ago because I tagged Chris Drew in the thing. Like, look at these idiots still running with your story. So they addressed like a 15, 20-minute segment right in the beginning of this show going at Chris Bayless or whatever, however you say his last name, is irrelevant at this point because the thing that gets me, besides all the projecting that the Team Up North is doing, is that their fans still listen to these people that are just idiots. And it's so obvious. You could go back in the YouTube world and go to Minister Sports and you could find the actual episode where they made it up right on the spot.
Oh yeah. But see, the thing is, why are they continuing it though? That's my thing. Okay, your feelings were hurt because you got caught back in 2023. Your feelings are hurt. You're looking for someone to blame. Even then, you still shouldn't have done it. But why wouldn't you take down that story by now and retract it? They're doing the opposite. They're doubling down. Uncle T is doubling down. Now, Uncle T, I believe he's insane. My personal opinion is that he's a drunk. If you look how he reads, he doesn't make a lot of sense. I think he's a drunk, but that's my own opinion. But regardless, he's unhinged. And he has been claiming to, because he wants to leverage his money, because that's what he was doing at Michigan. He's claiming that he's going to sue them, leverage his money. He's going to drop the evidence. So, like, why drop it? What are you waiting to drop it? If you have this evidence on him, drop it. Like, someone needs to start a clock on this guy. It's been 800 days since you claimed to have evidence. And you're right, it was made up as a joke. Like, how stupid are these people? But they'll still listen to Bayless. They'll still pay him. I mean, yesterday, he was advertising, sign up to my blog. And he was doing it off these backs of all this activity on sanctions. Like, here, this is the #1 insider blog to figure out what's going on. Like, you're doing it at the detriment of your program. Like, and
Dude,
so just one more thing on Blas.
Yeah,
This guy knows absolutely nothing. And the reason you can prove he knows nothing is because he said that there would be an agreement after the COI. He said there will be an agreement, a negotiated resolution. That is technically impossible. Literally, it is impossible. Once it goes to the hearing, it's done. So this guy knows nothing, and people pay him, and it's very frustrating. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. I was about to say, dude, one of the more amazing things to me throughout this entire thing is some of their fans' inability to like do their own research and simply just read on their own and look at logic. I mean, if you go back to the very beginning, right? Something very logical in this whole thing is look at everybody that got let go from the program. Uncle T got fired, disbanded from the champion circle. All the coaches ran to the NFL. I mean, that in itself, I mean, how many little cover-ups and how many little excuses can you possibly make to make it look like it's not because of this sign stealing or this, illegal scouting investigation.
I
You know what I
mean,
mean? Like every step of the way, they have done this. They've done stuff like, Trevor did, was saying he read the NOA, and, the COI was because, CMU is backing up scum and saying they had nothing to do with it. And like all along the way, dude, I want to make a list so bad of every little thing and all this evidence that has been presented and all the excuses they make against that evidence. It's like, at what point in time can we just bring common sense into the scenario? Does that make sense? Like, at what point in time can we take a step back and say, yo, dude, I mean, just based off of these select things we can read on the NCAA message board, and the fact that they took it all the way to a hearing and they didn't resolve it. I mean, how much more am I just so far on the side of disliking them that I can't see their side? Or I don't think I am. I think I'm thinking logically here. Like, how could somebody logically think that, number one, they did nothing wrong? Literally, dude, we had, Mays on the show yesterday. Cool dude. But to hear him say that he thinks this all occurred because Connor was just so good at his job, it just dumbfounded me. It kind of dumbfounded me that, okay, then why is he wearing a disguise on the CMU thing? Why did he get fired? Why this? Why that? You know what I'm saying? Like what is going on around here, man? It dumbfounds me
well,
that
you're
these
trying
people,
to use logic with illogical people. So this is just the bottom line. And I figured it out once Mays spoke yesterday about, he said, I do not care. We won a natty. That's all I care about. Everything else is whatever. And that's how their fan base is looking at it. And that's how Bayless knows that the fan base is looking at it, and all their beat reporters. So they throw out BS to them because they know they're going to chew it up and eat it out. So, I mean, for them, they're trying to spin everything because they don't want to tell them the truth. They want to be real. And common sense is not common amongst that fan base or amongst Americans in general, but especially that fan base. So they want to believe what they want to believe. And they're going to lean into it like, oh, yeah, Ryan Day did this or Ohio State did this, when it's literally everything that you're being charged with. You're just the kings of projecting. But at the end of the day, the punishment is going to come out at some point, and there's no more projection that you can have behind it. The truth will come out, and then they're going to have egg on their face.
Hey, well, it looks like you got an MSU alum in the chat. Go green.
Yeah.
But no, so I completely I agree with what you guys are saying. I don't think all these people are dumb. I don't think they don't have the ability to reason. What I think is that there's a general insecurity that draws people to that program from the state of Michigan. Growing up, near East Lansing, the Michigan fans that I know were always they couldn't stand losing, right? Losing to them just like broke their hearts, like even though they had no affiliation to the school. But regardless, is this program is not an elite program. They've never been an elite program in my lifetime or anybody's lifetime. Their last alone national championship is in black and white from like 1947 or 1948, which is fine. Okay. You don't, but all of a sudden they've been getting beat up. You guys have been beating them up like terribly this century. In Michigan State, they are not even like the powerhouses in their own state. They do not own this state. Like they go 50-50 with us this century, basically, ever since Lloyd Carr retired. So these people have been being beaten up, and all of a sudden, finally, they get a smell of winning, right? It's getting some type of success, just to learn that it was all through cheating. So their entire being, their entire identity is surrounding this football team and its success, and it's all being exposed as fraudulent. The entire thing was fraudulent from the very day one. And I think that emotional tie to what happened and their instant impulse to just deflect, I think that the very worst of their human nature is coming out. And it's very sad because if there were some adults in that room, they would just tell them the truth. And then they could go through the proper coping mechanisms to realize that, okay, I mean, you could say, like, if you're a Michigan fan, say, yeah, we cheated, but it was worth it. We were able to get the title, whatever. But they can't even come to terms with that. There's only a few people that I know that have taken that stance. We cheated, it's worth it. So what? Um, but yeah, I just think it's
Yeah.
insane levels of cope. But this gets to me, this gets to the problem of the institution because if this was Michigan State's media, we would not be being fed lies, like outright lies. Like, could you imagine with Mel Tucker if they're like, just sitting out there. Well, Mal, if we start slandering the girl that he was, that he was inappropriate with, like that's what
Yeah.
Michigan would do. Like if Jim Harbaugh did that, they'd say, "Oh, well, that girl, she was awful." They just make excuses and blame for everything. It's very
Well,
sociopathic if you think of it.
Well, dude, you put a list up, and it's like through all of this stuff, right? And please correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe it's because I just dislike them and I pay attention when they're in the news. But I mean, seriously, think about everything that has come out in that program. I mean, you saw that those Chinese scientists or whatever that they got in trouble, and Alex Yude and Matt Weiss and the DWIs and the recruiting violations before this even. And the fact Jim Harbaugh was telling his staff, hey, dude, don't worry about these rules, man. You know what I mean? And all this stuff, he took a 50% pay cut. You know what I'm saying? Getting stomped in the ground. So you talk about desperation. I mean, and this is all done strictly from Jim Harbaugh being as desperate as one could possibly be. I mean, fled the ship immediately, So, I mean, there's so many things through this, but it's just like, man, are there other schools around the country having this much trash and garbage surrounding their program? Is there? And they have the nerve when we bring that up to talk about what's that documentary that came out about Ohio State and the doctor or whatever? Like, that's what you're going to bring up? You're going to bring up Tattoo Gate? Like, are you serious? No, we're talking about right now. We're talking about what's going on in your program right now. Like all of this stuff, the hockey program, the basketball program, their head coach punching people. I mean,
The gymnastic coach, like the list goes on.
The president of the school come out and said, bet. Like on Twitter, the president of their school is coming out and tweeting bet. Does that sound like professional or a high prestige like place? Like, is that something that am I missing something here? So I guess Intrinsic, is this normal? Is this happening to other programs and I'm just not paying attention to it? Or is there really a lot of trash around the program?
So yeah, there's a deeper problem going on at that university, and every university has bad things. Players, sometimes coaches, they get in trouble for doing bad things. The problem is this is actively happening at Michigan. This is actively going on. Your president just fled and didn't even have a job. Like he didn't even have a job. Like, he just left the play. It was so bad. It wasn't just football. Football might have been lower on the list. I mean, there's the Matt Weiss class action lawsuits. There's like the First Amendment violations that he was having on campus. Now we find out that there was possibly a bioweapons lab that they weren't monitoring.
Yep.
They're receiving foreign funding and they're not accounting for it. Next year they have 90 days to fix it or prove what's going on. The school's being investigated from multiple different angles, but they're claiming they're the Harvard of the Midwest. Like, and don't get me wrong, as an academic institution, like like their hospital and their medicine is some of the best. Like, it's some of the best. And I can't imagine some of these people who are affiliated with that school to get a good education are like, we did this all for football. We really did this all just to win a game. Like, there's people, definitely good people at the University of Michigan who are embarrassed by this whole thing. Like, I have this Michigan Fallout tracker thing going right now, and like Jim Harbaugh, here's the names. So you have Jim Harbaugh, Sharon Moore, Connor Stalions, Jesse Minter, Steve Klinkstell, Matt Weiss, Santa Ono, Josh Gaddis, Jim McElwain, Jake Costner, because these are people affiliated, Greg Scruggs, Denard Robinson, Chris Partridge, Alex Yude, Shemi Schembechler, and that's just the stuff that's associated with just football. So And in each one, I have a whole list of everything they did. I mean, the problem is this is what happened when an institution is out of control and it's not monitoring. And I know a lot of people get upset. Why isn't this lack of institutional control? Was because just because you have all these symptoms of lack of institutional control, they're not going to get charged with that when you have them dead to rights on a failure to monitor. Because each one of these instances, like with say Connor Stallions didn't exist and he didn't go out and help them cheat for these games, just the fact that you have a prior level one and Jesse Minter and Steve Klinkstale, who now have NR, so we know that they committed recruiting violations. That right there would have triggered another failure to monitor. Just so you know, D- they
Yeah.
are under they are a textbook failure to monitor case. There is not a bigger failure to monitor case than what's on these guys, and for nobody to just their lawyers know what they're looking at. So I don't understand why. I don't know how you. I don't know how Ward Manuel's still there because Ward Manuel, he should have fired these guys. Like Harbaugh should have been put on leave as soon as this happened because he was already lying to investigators, which he'd known. Like he lied multiple times over 3 different meetings. Like you have a coach who says he doesn't care about monitoring. Like these are literally what's supposed to be done at an academic institution. I know we all love sports and we all think about football and whatnot, but at the end of the day, these are student athletes. And you're helping raise 18 to 22-year-old kids. Like you need to
Amen.
have a properly monitor them and you need to be a good role model to them too. Like this is I would have serious concerns if I sent my kid to this program, especially with what you're saying now. They're not telling the kids that they're possibly facing a postseason ban. To me, I hope that if someone from Michigan, when this comes down, I hope that they say what happened. We've seen part of that with Joe Milton, him saying, South Carolina, you guys cheated. And he
Hmm.
was there and he had a rough falling out. If you look when he left, that's when JJ McCarthy came in. He was there for part of that 21 season. He probably knows a lot about the culture under Jim Harbaugh. Um, I think more people should speak up about this because this it's a story that keeps on giving. I mean, my Twitter, as soon as I think I have nothing to post about, next thing you know, agro terrorists. Next thing you know,
Yeah.
CMU is like what did CMU sold themselves out for Michigan. If you look at their dashboard, they were all of a sudden CMU got the Michigan virus and they're not cooperating with investigators and doing everything Michigan was doing.
Yeah.
Like, oh
Hey
no,
man,
so
before
yeah, go
Hold
ahead.
on. I wanted to ask him a question real quick.
hold on, real fast, guys. Please don't forget, man. Hit the subscribe button on both channels, Scoop and the Buckeye Boys with the Z. Hit the like button as well. Thank you, Will Star. Mello.
Intrinsic, I have a question. Can you explain to everyone the difference between failure to monitor and lack of institutional control, and which one would be worse punishment for the team up north and the school in general?
Uh, the core penalties are exactly the same. The core penalties are exactly the same. Now, as far as when you're looking at, and so the difference is when you have lack of institutional control, it's stated in the Constitution that of the NCAA bylaws that the ultimate responsibility lies on the president. So
Hmm.
this would be a systemic failure of the institution, and you would see it pop up across multiple sports.
Okay.
Or in this case, so if it needed to happen in this case, they would need to have the goods on like Ward Manual all the way up to Santa Ono, that basically they were instructing compliance to back down.
Mm.
So you would need something that ultimately rests at the feet of the president. It's a very
Uh,
serious charge, but if the core penalties are exactly the same. So if you're the NCAA, I'm sure they suspect, because here's what I imagine they suspect, that compliance stood down on purpose, right?
mhm.
Because compliance should have caught Stallions, should have caught Minter, should have caught um, Klinkstale, like because that's what compliance is supposed to do. They're supposed to monitor and they're supposed to evaluate risk areas. So when Harbaugh in 2022 says, I don't really care too much about, I'm paraphrasing, but I don't really care too much about monitoring. And the compliance director says, I'm stretched thin. All of a sudden, the institution's supposed to say, okay, we need to apply more resources and we need to keep a closer eye on our head coach because he's struggling with this problem, right? Because the goal is you want to fix these problems and allow your program to move forward effectively. And so they probably suspect that institutionally they told compliance to kind of look the other way. That's what I'm thinking. Because I can't. How do you miss all these things?
Yeah.
Like
No,
how do you miss it?
yeah. That makes sense. I'm totally on board with that. I think that, behind the scenes here, there has to be, the compliance and also extended people that knew something was going on and they chose to keep their mouth shut, right? And they chose not to report it. Like that had to have happened, man. But you brought up a really good point. We don't got too much longer, man, but I just want to
Okay.
say this again because in the college football world, right? I myself, when I'm watching college football or talking college football, I kind of live in a fantasy land. Now, what do I mean by that? I don't really think about real life. Like it's my disconnect from responsibility and real life, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So when we talk about the scum scandal, it's hey man, like look at we lost to you guys and you cheated. Definitely the first two games, possibly the third game as well that you beat us. And there's that aspect of it, and that had consequences to our ability to go to the finals and several different things. CJ Stroud, Heisman. There's a list of those football things that we can talk about and that we get caught up on all the time. But you brought something up about real life, man, about when a teenager's going to college, like that college's responsibility to that teenager as a person, as a human being. And in the same aspect, this cheating scandal, dude, it ruined people's lives.
Oh
Like
yeah.
break it down and go think about your cousin or your uncle right now, or your grandma or your grandpa, and think about if their life got ruined, they lost their job, or they were in the media, and Ryan Day's family, for instance, and his kid is going to school getting death threats, right, over this. Like there is an extended list of real life things that happen to players, to family members, to coaches. Like the list goes on and on, that like when you get down to the nitty gritty of real life things that affects people, this did that to them. So this is an evil thing that they did. This isn't just in the sports world. Like the injuries that could have occurred. Here's the truth, man. When you know a play ahead of time, the injuries that you can do to a player on the field because of that, who knows? Like the impact that this had on the game. And that's what's scary about it, because it had an impact on a game, but then it also had an impact on real people living real lives, like outside this college football fantasy land that we all live in. When we're like, you guys know what I'm talking about. And the thing about it is that's not a stretch whatsoever to say any of those things I just said. Like that's not me stretching and reaching and trying to blow this thing up into a bigger deal. I mean, would you guys agree, Mello, Intrinsic? Do you agree with what I said, or am I stretching there?
No, you're absolutely 100% on point. You're not even talking about the people that gambled, that have gambling addictions, that might have lost everything now, and that's their own fault. But still, there's a lot of other people out that aren't even into this sport or a participant that were affected by this. So yeah, I think that's something that's overlooked, and you can't overstate it enough. Because it resides and hits home, especially with Ryan Day and his family and everything that they've gone through. I think they've gotten it the worst, and it's unfortunate, right? Because the first 2 years, obviously, we know for a fact that they cheated, so it definitely affected the outcome of the game.
Yeah, no doubt.
No, yeah, no. Well, hold on. The Big Ten commissioner said this had an issue with player safety, not
Yep.
just in the games that already happened, but moving forward. That was a concern. That's why part of the reason with the Michigan State game, it wasn't just about okay, they're going to have a competitive advantage, which they did definitely go into that game, but it was the player safety moving forward. But how about this? How about draft stock?
Right.
Right? How about players' careers? And that's what I've been tracking is I want to track how these players who cheated to get their jobs, right, are doing in the
Yeah.
NFL. And they are collapsing. I have
Yeah.
not seen there's only of remember how we heard this is the most players ever drafted
Yeah.
from a team? Yeah, well, you guys get bored. Look how each one of those players is doing.
Oh,
Not
we
good.
know.
Not good.
We know.
Like
Hey,
these players should be great. They should be
Yeah.
great, right? I mean, the team was so good. Like, why aren't they doing anything?
Yeah.
Right.
Dude, I did not realize it's 8:05 already.
Yeah,
We got to get
sure.
off here. But the point, man, as you can see, dude, Intrinsic, you just opened up a whole nother topic that I can sit here and talk with you and Mello about for the next hour. Like all that, man.
Yeah.
Look
Oh,
what
yeah.
it did for their recruiting. Look what it did. I mean, the money that people started donating. Do you think
Yep.
they donated
Yeah.
more when they started winning? Because, like, dude, it's just
We could
never
go
ending.
on. Yeah,
Yeah, but
it really
Mello,
is.
yeah, Mello, you got about 30 seconds, man. Any final words?
Mel, thank you for coming on, man. Everybody go follow Intrinsic Value. He does great work over there on X, and he's very well sourced, very well informed, and we appreciate you coming on. We need to get you back on here, maybe when the hammer actually drops or sometime in the future, because this was a banger of a show, and yeah, super chats.
Yeah. Pinky in the house, 71. Thanks for the $4.99. So the amended COA didn't come from inside of Scum. That is the question. Intrinsic, you want to answer that real quick, and then give in any final words you got for people?
The amended NOA came from material evidence, most likely from someone coming forward. Now, who came forward, we don't know. Dotman basically said that it came from something to do with CMU, so prime suspects would be McElwain, Costner, or Amy Folan. So it might have been them coming forward with information that, like, maybe they're colluding or something. We're speculating, but it came from a whistleblower, essentially. Someone came forward with material evidence. Yeah.
Well, we got another one. Jerry, thanks so much for the $9.99. Would you rather have TNT wins vacated or have a 2-year bowl ban? And what's most likely to happen? I'm going for the bowl ban. Mello?
I want the bowl ban. I want to affect their future recruiting.
Yeah.
I want the bowl ban. Bowl ban. Yeah, bowl ban.
Yeah, for sure. I want both of them is what I want. But hey, Intrinsic, man, thank you so much for coming on, man. Keep doing what you're doing, bro. It's absolutely amazing. Somebody to put the time and effort that you're into this. We appreciate it a lot. It's not just Ohio State fans. That's proven. That's this other rumor that's flying around that they like to do on their message boards, and we could dive into that as well.
Me too, Bugsy. Sorry.
Yeah. But hey, we appreciate you, man. We're definitely going to have to get you back on here. No doubt about it. But
pleasure talking to both of you. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely, brother.
Yeah, for sure. On that note, we appreciate you guys. We love you guys. Go Buckeyes. OH.
IO.